Those second two stages may bring a lot of action.
They most certainly may. The Truck Series and the Grand National Series here in the AMA have been really a tale of two different series. Greg Evans, Kyle Heath have dominated the Thursday night show. Evans has won 7 out of the last 11 races.
That's right.
Goodness me. But here in the Truck Series, not so. We have had 4, 6, 8, 9 different winners, including 5 wins by people named Chad. Chad Dulaban leads the series with 3 of those. Chad Winstead has a pair. Kendall Paul, Justin Osterman, Mike George, Jim Duda, Austin Hund, Jared Duda, Logan Edwards, and Tanner Hacker have all went to victory lane. We do have one of the guys who I would have thought would have been one of the favorites tonight based on his performance last night. David Dunwoody will not be here. He has suffered a real-life mechanical failure to his automobile, and so he will not be in the field this evening. But we do have plenty of star power up there. Chuck Sweeting is a name that comes to mind. Chuck has not yet won one of these events. Chuck Sweeting would be one that I'd be looking to get up front. Paul Witt, another very, very fast man. He's in the top 10 in practice. And speaking of practice, Sam, you will never guess who's atop that leaderboard as we get ready to qualify.
Geez, how many guesses do I get this time? How many?
I'll give you 2, Sam.
2. Okay. So if I'm going to get 2, I'm going to save one, and I'm going to go with Ryan O'Donoghue.
You are correct. 167, 226 is the speed. 53.942. The track record here held by Sheldon Creed, 53.609. So we're nowhere near that, but we are getting ready to qualify. And Sam, we're gonna, as usual, try to hitch it up to one of the fastest cars in this in the grid. Let's see if we can't get Ryan O'Donoghue to show us his on board. Show us a fast lap around here. It's a little bit different in the trucks than it is in the Xfinity car, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, there's a lot more downforce with these trucks, and you can be a little more aggressive on the throttle. However, the results remain the same. If you overdrive these corners, you're going to wind up pushing the truck into the wall. It's just inevitable if you overdrive here at Pocono. It's just not going to benefit you. However, because you do get a little bit more aggressive with the throttle here in the trucks, you do have the opportunity to utilize that downforce. So the draft comes into effect a lot on the straightaways, and of course handling will mean a lot. But the variables always will remain the same at Pocono, including tire wear.
It is, and one of the things you're going to want to look for, we are doing stage racing tonight as we did last night. The stages 20 and 40, 80 laps total. The thing that I would remind people, look for the strategy call from some of these drivers. If they can, they know they're not going to win the stage, pit a couple of laps, 2 laps before the stage. Make yourself a free pit stop. See if you can't vault to the front and get some free track position. We are going to jump on board Ryan O'Donoghue. You see the weather, 67 in the air, 84 on the track. You could not ask for better track conditions than these.
Yeah, it's overcast as well, so that's really going to give the truck some grip.
Matty Wagner says he's going to try to flat foot it, Sam.
Is he really?
we might have to take a look at that. Ryan O'Donoghue continues around. He is on lap number 1. Is it lap 1 or 2 that we can expect to be fastest, Sam?
Lap 1 is usually faster with the trucks, in my opinion. But there are a lot of drivers who like to just use that lap to warm the tires up. But my experience is lap 1 usually it will be your fastest lap.
Speaking of fast laps, there's Ryan O'Donoghue. He crosses the stripe. His first lap, 53.998. Good for second quick. Kendall Paul just a shade faster. Now Chad Dulaban will go to the top of the leaderboard. All of these drivers are taking lap number 2 as we go. O'Donoghue down the Long Pond straightaway, headed toward turn number 2.
It seems like an eternity when you're coming down this Long Pond straight, and when you're heading into that very shallow tunnel turn, you want to make sure that you utilize good judgment there so that the wall doesn't come out and grab you. Looks like O'Donohue actually has a really good lap going here, and if you notice, he's got a very high entry, and he's going to go with a low exit so he can get back into the throttle a lot quicker. A lot of drivers would prefer that, but also you run into the detriment of using up the right rear tire to do so. Oh, and Ryan O'Donohue hit the blistering lap.
Yes, he did. 53.812. That'll put him at the top of the board. And how about the aforementioned Matty Wagner? Now, he said he was going to, he said he wished he could flat foot it. Let's see if he can. Now, that's a guy that's used to being able to flat foot it, Sam, around this place. So let's see if he can do it. No gauges. It's something else that we'll point out here with the updates. The mechanical gauges in these trucks are gone. They have the screens now, just like the Cup cars. Only the Xfinity machines have the analog gauges now. So just something to kind of keep in mind. We raced last week during week 13, but this is the first week with the new build properly sorted. And Sam, you gotta kind of wonder, are there things that are a little bit different that maybe these guys are going to feel that are different, things that they're not used to? The dash is one of them, but anything that you've noticed?
I haven't noticed too much outside of setup particulars. Like, there are only a few adjustments that we can make in the trucks, whether it be, offset or ratio or brake bias. There's only a few settings that we can do in a fixed setup. And among those things, I have noticed in the trucks that in the steering ratio and the offset, they are minute feelings, and those changes are noticeable now. Sometimes they had to go extreme to be able to tell the differences, but now it is very noticeable, even one click here or one click there.
It can be one of the things that you struggle with in any new build, not just the dash, and that's one thing that these guys are going to notice, guys and gals are going to notice that's different. But one of the things that I've noticed, Sam, the handling characteristics on the open wheel car is completely different, and that's something we're going to get into. We'll talk about that during this race, things that you can expect on our Monday and Tuesday night shows. But we've got a dandy plan for you tonight. On the pole with a
Mr. Consistency tonight.
Yeah, well, he set the fastest lap in practice. He sits on the pole, 167.628 miles an hour. That's Ryan O'Donohue. He's going to be flanked by the first half of the Chad and Chad show. That's Chad Dulabon. He's going to go from second. Kendall Paul. And the second Chad Winstead. So we've got Chads lined up on the outside of Ryan and Kendall. They're going to, Kendall Paul, Chad Winstead going to go third and fourth. And how about Matt Wagner? Matty Wags parks his Toyota fifth. He'll be inside of Paul Witt in sixth. I would rate those as two of the dark horses today. John Hutchins is going to be seventh. Logan Edwards, he'll go eighth. Jim Duda ninth. Justin Osterman will round out your top 10. In 11th, Corey Palermo, Andrew Miller will start from 12th. Keith Graham, Michael Kirk make up the 7th row. John Van Ostrin and Layson Furnice, 15th and 16th. Owen Simkovich is 17th. Brandon Wallace, 18th. Tyler Moore, Jalen Story will round out the top 20. Starting from 21st, Chuck Sweeting, Jeremy Dunwoody 22nd, Liam Anderson 23rd, Barry Seaman will be at 24th. None of the final four cars took time. They will go from the end of the grid. Liam Anderson and Barry Seaman both will have drive-through penalties to start this event.
A very rare time that we don't see Donald Green with us tonight.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if he's maybe taking the night off, or maybe maybe had something better to do. It's been a gorgeous day throughout much of the country, and so maybe he just decided he was going to take the night off. Sam.
I remember seeing some of the correspondence of the forums that he had said that he would be here. So we hope everything's okay with Donald Green tonight, and that he's doing well. but we still have a full field of cars. Matt Wagner is. I don't know that I'd be telling everybody so proficiently that this is my first laps in a truck here. That would make a lot of drivers nervous.
Well, I told
But,
him. I told him, Sam.
he's a racer. Matt's a racer, and so once a racer, always a racer. He picks up on things incredibly quickly.
He does. Mystery Chuck says no internet life in Florida in the summer, so that would be the reason that Donald Green.
And who's that?
I believe that might be Donald or one of his friends checking in that they don't have their internet is down. I did tell
whole
Wagner.
State of Florida. Wow.
Well, it could be. Now I did tell Wagner we were messing around the other night. We were me and him and I and Mark Cohn were chatting, and I told him, I said, the first time I ever saw this place in a stock car, I came here and won the pole. So I expect nothing less out of a veteran racer like Matt Wagner.
Well, you got one up on him. Well, just let's see how these guys sort the beginning of this race out. It's going to be a staged event as we talk about. There'll be 3 separate stages, and the Truck Series has been really, really proficient at making sure that they run this first segment cleanly, and I hope that will continue to be the case tonight, so that these guys can figure out what they've got under them and they can understand what their truck's going to do over a long run. This will be one of the longer runs that they'll have. Then there'll be a short, brief second stage, and then lead into another long run at the end.
Well, that was Chuck's
pace car's off.
Yeah, pace car is off. The green flag is out. Racing will begin. That was Chuck Sweeting, by the way, checking in, saying he didn't have his internet went out on him.
I see.
Meanwhile, everybody's going to...
Chuck started in the back of the field tonight. That's a very big surprise for me.
Yeah, and he didn't get to take the green flag either. The field funneling through turns 1 and 2. So far, just the standard Pocono, Sam. We've got some 2, we've got some 3 wide, but everybody's staying off each other. They're just kind of fanning out, trying to sort themselves through this lap as we head toward the tunnel turn.
Yeah, you can actually see some of the draft coming into play going down the line. Oh, we have one sideways into the tunnel turn. He's up into the wall. He saves it. It's about mid-pack. I didn't get a number on the truck.
It was indeed no incident points popped up on my popped on the ATVO. We do see Liam Anderson. He's going to peel off from the back of the back of the field.
Steeman will as well.
Yes, they will. And meanwhile, Ryan O'Donohue has jumped out to the early lead here. He's going to have a 0.3 of a second advantage over Chad Dulabon. Kendall Paul is third. Chad Winstead fourth. Matty Wagner has laid claim to fifth, and he's really kind of the jam car. The front 4 have pulled away from 5th place on back, Sam.
Yeah, it's going to be a patience thing here tonight and making sure that you maintain that momentum. Ryan O'Donohue last night had an incredibly fast car. He kept pace with Kyle Heath and Greg Evans. And he had a really good race going on, and just unfortunately got caught into some diverse circumstances late in the race and ended his night early. So Ryan O'Donohue knows this track, but Chad Dulabon behind him and some of these drivers that are chasing him are no rookies to this series nor to this truck. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the race unfolds over the long part of these runs and who saves tire and is able to make their move late.
Looking off the top of Chad Dulabon, looking back toward Kendall Paul. Those 3 have now separated a little bit from Chad Winstead. So Winstead now is on his own kind of an island there. And then you go back, you've got Matt Wagner, Paul Witt, Mr. Excitement, Justin Osterman, Logan Edwards, John Hutchins, Jim Duda. They're all right there. Osterman, he's going to go to the inside of Paul Witt.
He's looking. He's excited about getting there. Now, Paul Witt's actually been working on Matt Wagner for the last couple of laps now.
Yes, he has. He pulls down to the inside, down into turn number 1. Wagner's going to back off. Let Witt have that spot. Now Justin Osterman, he's going to try to take advantage. He'll dive it to the inside of Wagner. Not quite enough room, but Wagner contact with Justin Osterman. Wagner saves it to the inside of the speedway. But that's going to drop Matty Wagner back to 9th, and here comes Jim Duda to get 10th. Or 9th, rather. Wagner's going to fall back, and now he's in close quarters with the number 40 of Andrew Miller. Miller's going to go by. All sorts of trouble here for Matt Wagner in the early going, and that all started with contact between he and Justin Osterman at the exit of turn number 1.
Again, in these trucks, there is so much importance to making sure that you maintain your speed and that momentum, because if you have to let off something inadvertently, you can lose positions quickly here because it takes time to build that momentum back up. And so that may be exactly what we're seeing here with Matt Wagner, but he'll get it gathered up, but he's still got some hungry truck drivers behind him.
Well, and not only that, you get sideways like that, you heat up the tires. We were talking about the new build. Probably no mainstream vehicle in iRacing changed more than the IR18. I got in and we were gonna run some stuff at Road America just in preparation for the big iRacing IndyCar Series race tomorrow, Sam. I got in that car and said, man, the dash is different. I went down into turn 1 for the first time. It handled completely different. Massive update to that car. But all good. It felt like you could slide it a little bit more. It wasn't nearly as testy as it had once been. I thought maybe the new tire model, in addition to being a little bit more realistic, Sam, it might be a little bit more accessible for people. But the dash was the biggest thing. I had not seen it until today, and that really threw me. And that would be something that some of these drivers, if they haven't driven this truck since the update, they may be logging in going, wait a minute, where's the tack?
That's very true. That's very true. I don't know that that would be as big of a distraction to me. The aesthetic was not something that really drew me. I'm always trying to drive by the seat of my pants, so to speak, to make sure that I'm always paying attention to how the truck is performing. The gauges usually will light up and let me know if there's something wrong without me having to watch them too closely.
Well, it's information, and so when you look at the Holley EFI dash there, we're riding along with Kendall Paul. You've got RPMs in the middle. That's digital now instead of the old dial style mechanical gauge. But everything's digital, and so we see battery, water temp, oil temp, fuel pressure, water pressure, and oil pressure at the bottom. That may be information that these drivers may not have looked at in the past, or they may not have paid attention to, just because the gauges in these trucks and the Xfinity car both were kind of difficult to read. And I know on the open wheel side, when you get into the Pi dashes on those cars, you use all of that information, and so if it's in a different place, it can certainly bother you a little bit. It's not bothering Kendall Paul, though. He's running along 3rd right now, in between, or just behind Ryan O'Donohue and Chad Dulabon. Chad Winstead, he's about 3/10 off of this battle, and then you've got a distance. It's about 2 seconds back to Logan Edwards, and he's got a handful with Paul Witt here.
Yeah, Logan Edwards has actually been working on Paul Witt for quite a while. I've been watching that race closely for the last couple of laps, and all that's done is allow Justin Osterman to continue to close in. And anytime the 53 is in the mix, you can count that there's going to be some excitement involved. But Logan Edwards has really honestly been trying to make sure that he makes this pass and makes it cleanly. But Paul Witt's not going to allow him to do it freely. He's going to make him earn it.
Well, and what Logan Edwards is going to need to do is kind of what he's doing right now. He's climbing to the high side. He's trying to get a line. Yeah, he's changing his line. He's trying to get a run. But we've seen it so many times. We saw it last night. Going to the bottom toward turn number 1 is kind of like fool's gold, Sam. You get down there, you can't quite make it stick coming off the corner. You really got to get to a guy's outside on the exit of turn number 1, and that's just very difficult to do here.
Yeah, because you're tempted. You're so very tempted in these trucks to, if you get on the outside going into one, you're so tempted to drive that truck in incredibly deep. And the deeper you drive it in, the more likely you are to push on your exit. And it's so hard to get that big run on the outside. You have to really convince yourself to let off early and allow the truck to roll through the top on entry, and then pick up the throttle later. It's really a tricky corner, but that's why they call this the tricky triangle to start with.
It most certainly is. Now, you saw Logan Edwards. He went high working on Paul Witt, and that allowed Justin Osterman, Mr. Excitement, to get right up on the rear bumper, the rear deck lid there of Logan Edwards. And now Justin Osterman.
Now this time Logan really has a much better approach this time, as you see that he rolled through the top this time and was able to pick up the throttle a little bit quicker going into the Long Pond Straight.
He did. Now those three trucks are separated, folks. That's not one automobile. That is three. They were right together going through the tunnel, going into the tunnel turn, and that's dangerous. You need all the downforce that you can get. Logan Edwards had no clean air, front or rear. He's going to slide to the high side. Mr. Excitement, Justin
look
Osterman.
At that run through the middle by Edwards. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's kind of fool's gold. As you've said, Sam, it's very much a momentum racetrack. Osterman dove it to the bottom. He was able to draw alongside, but the momentum on the top will carry Logan Edwards right back behind him.
All that inertia wants to throw that truck out to the wall. I mean, it just really wants to. All the weight just shifts, and it just wants to push the truck out, and it's hard to pick the throttle up because if you try to pick the throttle up in those cases, it just adds to that inertia, and you just can't do it. You have to back out. This time Edwards has got a big run.
Yes, he does. Now he's gonna
clear Paul Witt this time.
Well, he didn't quite do it.
Well, he will with this draft from Osterman. Oh, Osterman says he's going to take advantage of it. Oh, they're so close.
John Hutchins says he might like a piece of this.
Edwards with a masterful move there. He stays up and allows Osterman to kind of stay where he was, and Edwards goes up and uses the high line to get that big run coming off of turn 3.
Yeah, and Logan Edwards is going to make the move. He's going to get past Paul Witt. Now Osterman to the bottom side. John Hutchins, he wants a piece of this battle. We're watching 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The front four, there you see them. They are single file. That's Ryan O'Donohue, Chad Dulabon, Kendall Paul, and Chad Winstead. The second four is where the action is. Do want to say hello to Liam O'Sullivan. And we would like to thank the YouTube algorithm for recommending this video. Liam, if you haven't already done it, make sure you click the like button and subscribe to the P1 Broadcasting Network so that you can be notified of all future P1 Broadcasting iRacing broadcasts.
We got contact going into the corner here. Oh, turn 3. Andrew Miller, and it looked like it was Matt Wagner, actually. They were on entry going into 3.
Two trucks go for the same piece of real estate. Andrew Miller goes for a nice slide. He gathers it back in, saves it. Wagner, the veteran.
What a save by Andrew Miller. Wow.
Yeah, the veteran Matty Wagner backs off. He lets him have the room to save it. Wagner will have the spot, move him up to 10th. Miller back to 11th. And Miller has been flirting with the outside wall coming off of turns number 2 and turn number 4 every lap around this racetrack. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have some damage on the side of that 40. Wagner gets by, and we're going to go up to the front because we've got a battle for the lead, Sam.
Oh, that's exciting to know that Chad Dulabon has patiently waited this long, and now he's caught Ryan O'Donoghue, and that he's looking on the outside.
Yes, he has. Now,
that's a tough move through the tunnel turn. We have caution on the speedway.
Caution is out. Barry Seaman. Barry Seaman was running along one lap down in 23rd. And let's show you what's befallen Barry Seaman here. Headed it toward the tunnel turn.
It looks like he just loses it.
Yeah, he got gassed up a little bit too early. It went toward the outside wall. He's going to slide toward the inside wall, make a nice impact with the nose. Barry Seaman is going to be on the pit lane. He tried to tow it to stay out of the
yeah, I
yellow.
think yeah, looking at the telemetry, it looks like he just drove it in incredibly hard there and realized about mid-corner that he was just way too hot. Then he catches the wall just a little bit on the exit, and it just unsettled the truck enough that he spun.
Yes, it does. Now, these guys are going to have to race around almost 2 full laps to get to the pace car based upon where they were and where the incident occurred. So the pit's not yet open. As we learned here last night, caution laps do take quite a bit of time. Chad Dulaban is your leader. Kendall Paul second. Chad Winstead is third. Ryan O'Donohue fourth, and Logan Edwards is fifth. Let's see if we can't grab Ryan O'Donohue right quick. The one-armed bandit, I'm sure, has something to say after having Chad Dulaban and Kendall Paul pass him for position out there.
Yeah, I'm watching that replay now.
Well, let's ask him. Ryan O'Donohue, you've got Mark and Sam in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, boys.
So you're fastest in practice for the 14th race in a row. You lead the first 13 laps, and then you get jumped by Dulaban and Kendall. What's your strategy for the next 65 laps of this thing? You're gonna kind of get some tires here. You're gonna wait till the stage.
Yeah, don't leave the top in turn 2. I left it open, and it was terrible timing. You get the yellow now, so back to 4th. But I don't think we're going to be pitting here. We'll see what everybody else does. Got some ideas for strategy later on in the race, though.
Copy that.
Ryan, do you feel like that there's something outside of just leaving the top open in turn 2? Is there something else you've learned here after about 10, 12 laps?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was doing a lot of mirror driving there, but I could see Chad was definitely quicker on entry and into turn 1. I think I got through 2 better. I was surprised he was able to hang my quarter panel there, and they both swallowed me up there. But yeah, I think if I can get the entry better and stick it, I think we'll be in good shape.
Well, I told Mark last night. I know you got to get to your pit stop or back to the race, but I told him last night if that arm needs to be back in a sling to bring you back good luck.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I might stick it back in there because or paint this thing bright green. I don't know what I got to do to finish one of these things lately, but we'll figure it out.
Very good. You want to go back with
plenty fast, Ryan. You'll do it.
Absolutely. You want to go back with Dulaban or Wagner?
Yeah, stick me with Wags.
All right, here we go. That is current fourth place runner Ryan O'Donohue. He has led the vast majority of the laps here this evening. We did see split decision. Excuse me. I had to sneeze there, Sam. We did see split decision for several drivers coming to pit lane. Kind of a free pit stop for many of our drivers. So Logan Edwards, Andrew Miller, Brandon Wallace, Tyler Moore, Michael Kirk all came to the pit lane. Keith Graham took the wave around. He got his lap back. There you see Ryan O'Donohue. He's led 12 out of 16 laps. The one-armed bandit is looking to lead some more. And Sam, the other thing I kind of wanted to point out was the track remains perfect. It's only partly cloudy now. 71 in the air, 81 on the track. Could not ask for better conditions. And we're going to have, 3-lap shootout to decide the stage here?
These are perfect race conditions for these trucks, honestly. They're conducive to great racing. And all that's left, if the weather is going to cooperate, then it's really up to the drivers to make sure they mind their P's and Q's to make it exciting and not just make dumb mistakes or overzealous decisions, but just to make sure that they adhere to what the weather's giving them and the truck as well.
Yes, it is. Mike Rigney checking in. He misses Ryan O'Donohue certainly in the Monday Night IndyCar Series. Of course, Ryan has been racing more or less one-handed for the last several weeks after shoulder surgery. You can wheel one of these trucks or even a stock car. You can kind of drive them a little bit one-handed. Of course, power steering and the bigger wheels and such not quite as much leverage needed. You drive one of those open wheel cars, no power steering, and in some of those tracks you're pulling 3.5, 4 vertical G's. So sometimes it can be difficult to hold on to the wheel with two hands, especially if you have a direct drive situation. And so understand why Ryan's sitting those out, but do hope that he continues to heal. We're gonna have green flag coming this time, Sam.
It's going to be a nice little shootout before we get into the first stage break. Kendall Paul was actually sharing, the administrator was sharing some information about that first stop and just trying to do some housekeeping for the drivers so that they'll know when they can pit. Because there was some question about some of the drivers that were pitting before, because the pits were not closed. They are not closed until 2 laps before the stage end. And so we're going to see these guys fight it out here for these last 3 laps as Chad Dulaban takes a big lead on this restart.
Yes, he does. Nice jump from Chad Dulaban. Kendall Paul, he's going to stake his claim to second. Meanwhile, Chad Winstead, he's going to try to dive it to the bottom. He's going to draw alongside Kendall Paul. Paul Witt, he'll go to the inside to right.
Kendall Paul, wow.
Big run for Paul Witt. He got to the inside, and the draft snake begins. Now, talk to us a little bit about why you're seeing Chad Dulaban go all the way to the bottom like that and what that does, Sam.
Well, what you're wanting to do is, well, he already has an advantage because he has clean air on the nose. These trucks already have great downforce, but to have clean air on the nose actually helps steering on entry going into all the corners. And so he doesn't want to give up that privilege that he has with clean air. And so by swerving back and forth down the straightaways, he's hoping that the trucks behind him will either not follow him or it will deter enough of the draft that he'll be able to pull a little further away from them, because the draft is effective here on the straightaways. And if you notice, he's not swerving in the corners, it's only on the straights.
And there he goes.
See,
right.
He'll go down, he'll move again. He's just trying to deter them out of his slipstream. And then he hopes that gives him an opportunity to pull away even more each successive lap.
Yes, indeed. Now, there is a price to that, fans. Oh, hard in the wall, Ryan O'Donohue. He glances off of it, keeps on trucking, but that's going to let Justin Osterman get to the inside of Ryan O'Donohue, headed for turn number 3. Mr. Excitement going to try to pick up the 5th spot. Meanwhile, the guys of the trucks that stopped, Andrew Miller, the highest placed right now, in 14th as we head for the last lap of the stage, Sam.
He's clearly inside here, and this is quite a little gaggle of trucks that are fighting it out back here. Andrew Miller's on the bottom, and a lot of these trucks with older tires are going to try and run that high side so they can get all that momentum coming off the top. He gets into the back of him. They're wrecking coming out of turn 1. Oh, and they're still wrecking. Andrew Miller, fresh tires and all, and now he's wrecking
hard in the wall.
Unbelievable.
Let's get just back. I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
It looks like, is that Jeremy Dunwoody who caught Owen Simkovich there? And yeah, that's exactly. Jeremy Dunwoody gets a lot of momentum here and gets into the back of the 85, and then it just causes a lot of mayhem right there behind them.
Well, here we go. We're headed into turn number 1, and there you see him fanning out. That's Owen Simkovich. You've got Jeremy Dunwoody, Andrew Miller, the 0-4 of Corey Palermo. Owen Simkovich blinks, so that's going to be the first part of this. Jeremy Dunwoody is going to drive down toward the bottom. There's the touch from Dunwoody into Simkovich. Miller, just kind of a victim of circumstance. One of these trucks, though, is going to head hard back up toward the racing line. That's Jeremy Dunwoody, and he is going to get demolished by Liam Anderson. Keith Graham also gets involved, and that's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, Andrew Miller, he careens off that inside retaining wall. He bounces back up the track into Dunwoody, and then that right back up into traffic. And they're waiting as he comes back up the racetrack. Keith Graham, or yeah, Keith Graham,
Liam Anderson. They just have nowhere to go.
Liam
There,
Anderson.
there you see
Yeah.
it. You're on board with Keith Graham now, and that's kind of what this looks like. Here comes Jeremy Dunwoody and Keith Graham. Well, first Liam Anderson, then Keith Graham. Nowhere to go. Bad break, tough break for both of them. Heavy damage, as you can see on the front end, just from the hood of Keith Graham. Liam Anderson also is going to have significant damage. We are under caution. This will be the stage break. Everybody is going to come to pit road. Poor Keith Graham had stopped under that last yellow. He would have been in position to. To have stayed out. Tyler Moore, Jalen Story coming in. Andrew Miller. He had a piece of that. He was on fresh rubber. Logan Edwards and Michael Kirk are going to be the two that stay out, Sam.
You know, we were talking about this last night as you were showing the in-car camera from Liam Anderson's truck. Excuse me. We were talking about this last night, that he sees what's happening in front of him. He sees these trucks careening off each other, and then they just begin to slide down to the infield. And you know, we were talking about how a driver thinks, "Oh no, they're wrecking in front of me. And then when they disappear, you're thinking, "I made it, I made it, I made it." And then all of a sudden, Dunwoody's truck comes out of nowhere
Yeah.
and just runs right back across the racetrack. Things happen so quickly here at Pocono. It just becomes discouraging at times when you think, I made it, and then there was just
There's
missing it.
there's no hole, and there's times where you can see an accident, several hundred yards away. You see it happen, and right the minute that that the car gets sideways in the middle of the track, there's nothing you can do to avoid it.
Right.
You see that it's more acute in the open wheel stuff, but it works here too. Think of the car as kind of like a seesaw, and so when you're in a corner, you've got that seesaw loaded all on either the right front or the right rear, depending on how you drive it. If you're in a corner and you let off the gas or slam on the brakes, it moves that seesaw. Well, that seesaw is the aerodynamic center of pressure of the car. You move that in the middle of the corner and you just spin it. There's nothing that you can do. And so it's very difficult, especially in the middle of a corner. Now, that was in a straightaway, but it's very difficult, especially in a corner, to change direction. Even in a straightaway, you yank the wheel hard left or hard right, you're going to wind up.
They don't respond that fast.
No, they don't. You're going to wind up wrecking the car. And so you don't get to make sudden moves. You don't get to make sudden moves. And I think a lot of people don't quite realize that. We're looking back at the front of the grid as we get ready to go here in stage 2. Logan Edwards, Michael Kirk are the two leaders. They did not stop. They stopped under the caution. Right before the stage break, and so they've got 1-2 green flag laps on their tires, not many. So that's Logan Edwards and Michael Kirk.
Not many at all. They should be able to get a good start here. Restarts are a little bit of advantage for the leader because they can get a significant advantage to the rest of the field in the restart zone. So it really does benefit them in that regard, unless they spin the tires. But they've really not been out on these tires long enough to have a worry about that.
Yes, indeed. Do want to welcome Albert Anderson into the chat. Thank you so much, Brittany, for being a part of the broadcast. Another nice crowd tonight for the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. If you're in the market for a new floor, Archway's got you covered. Archway Industrial Coatings is a St. Louis-based floor company that's been getting the job done for a long, long time out there. They do epoxy, urethane flooring solutions that withstand the test of time, all while meeting their customers' installation schedules and budgets. They're committed to doing the highest quality work at the lowest possible cost every time. Get ready to floor it with Archway. And speaking of flooring it, here goes Logan Edwards.
Here we go, stage 2 underway.
Yeah, and he got a great jump, and he's got Chad Dulabon.
Yeah, Logan Edwards really got a good jump there, and Chad Dulabon took advantage of it, and he followed him in there.
Yes, he did. Michael Kirk is going to slide in third, and the war is on behind him.
Immediately, with those new tires, Chad Dulabon just dives inside of Logan Edwards, and they're 3 wide behind him As they go down the Long Pond straightaway, they're going to be coming into turn 2. This is not going to work 3 wide in the short shoot.
No,
it's just not going to work.
No,
and now they settle out.
Yeah, Kendall Paul thought better of that. He backed out of it. This is music to the ears of Logan Edwards, though. He wants to tuck in behind Chad Dulaban and get gone, does Logan Edwards, because he knows that the longer he stays out there on those tires, even though they've only been on for a lap, the better off he's going to be. And they've pulled out 9/10 of a second over Chad Winstead, Michael Kirk, Justin Osterman, Paul Witt, Kendall Paul, Jim Duda, and others. The battle rages. This is positions 3 through 7, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon.
It's not gonna, they're going to be 3 wide again here as they come out of turn 1.
Justin Osterman thought about driving that thing 3 wide up through the middle. He thought better of it. He backs it down. He'll drive to the inside of...
now you've got a tandem draft here as they go into the short shoot.
You do indeed. That's Osterman on the bottom, Kirk on the top.
I believe Kirk went in there a little high. He lost some of that momentum as he was way too high going into the entry that time.
Well, now he's got Kendall Paul kind of jammed up. Kendall Paul's going to lose the spot to Paul Witt. And here comes Jim Duda there on the bottom. Duda's going to try to get by Kendall Paul as well.
And in the meantime, Chad Winstead has just decided he's going to drive away from this race, and he's going to allow them to fight it out. Justin Osterman is also clear of this particular battle.
Yes, he is, but it continues. Kendall Paul is hung on the outside behind the old tires of Michael Kirk. Now Jim Duda is going to get by. Kendall Paul is going to drive it hard off the top. Do you see that truck cut, Sam?
Now he's going to push him this time. He's going to push him and hope that he can clear Paul Witt on the inside, and he does. He does.
Yeah, that's how close it is on the top. Kendall Paul.
Now he has to take advantage of the fresh tires here going into turn 3. Now he gets on the inside of Kirk. He's doing exactly what he had planned on doing there.
Kendall Paul's going to drop to the inside. Here comes Paul Witt. He thought about making it 3 wide very briefly. He'll back off and try to follow Kendall Paul through. But the draft. You mentioned the draft, Sam. Kendall Paul down on the inside, and the draft is just going to suck. First Michael Kirk. Now Paul Witt right back by him. Kendall Paul went looking for 5th. He's going to wind up 7th on the exchange.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talk about often when you're talking about drafting is we talk about side draft. And side draft is not as effective in the trucks as what you'll find in the Xfinity cars or the Cup cars. The follow draft is very, very prevalent in these trucks. But side draft, for the most part, is not as effective here in these circumstances. Oh, now they're 3 wide again.
Michael Kirk just cannot.
Michael Kirk's working that high line. He may have older tires, but he's working that high line as hard as he can.
Can't give it up. Now there's contact.
He and Jim Duda come together on exit there.
Yeah, they did, and that's gonna open the door for others to get involved. John Hutchins, Matt Wagner, they have arrived. Matty Wagner on the inside. Hutchins, he'll be the car that's stuck behind Michael Kirk on the outside now.
And there's just this has just been, we've had to steadily stay with this just simply because the racing is so good. Chad Dulaban is checked out front. Logan Edwards there's a space between he and Dulaban, and then of course Chad Winstead has steadily been reeling Logan Edwards in. Justin Osterman is just kind of stalemated where he's at, and then the race is again is back here where Kirk is, and all these trucks that are following him and trying to get through these corners and fighting it out along the way.
Yes, it is. Now, here comes Michael Kirk. He's going to
see if Wags pushes him here. Yeah, he will. Look at there. It's a really nice little bump, and they're going to be able to push right past Jim Duda.
There he goes. There goes Matt Wagner. Now, that's a car that qualified 5th, and so Wagner, we know, has had the speed. He was involved in some contact earlier, got spun to the inside, lost his momentum, went to the back. But Matty Wagner moving back toward the front.
Oh, they're crashing behind them. Duda's in the wall.
Jim Duda hard in the wall. Yellow is on the speedway. That is the car of Lacine Furniss.
Lacine Furniss, yes.
Lacine Furniss. Lacine Furniss, as Harry Carey might say it. But let's see what we've got here. from
Oh, this
Layson
is
and
just
Jim Duda.
incredibly close racing as they were coming off the.
Now Layson gets a run. Layson Furnace gets a run here. He's going
He
to pull
does,
it.
and coming off that turn.
He's going to come off the corner, and is Jim Duda going to hit the outside wall, or is it going to be Layson
I think
Furnace?
if you really want to get a good perspective, you can go into the cockpit of John Hutchins' car. If you really want to get a good look at this particular event, it's just incredibly close racing, and both trucks are on exit,
Well, let's
and
see
they're
if
still settling. Layson's trying to gather the truck up. He just touches Jim Duda just ever so slightly, and then they begin to wiggle right back and forth into each other after that.
Yeah, there we go. We're riding on board now, as suggested. With John Hutchins here, or is this late? No, we're on with Layson. Let's get with John Hutchins.
Yeah, get in John Hutchins' cockpit. You'll get a good view of what's going on right here.
And it's not much, fans. That's
No,
all
it is
took.
not much at all.
Well, they kind of touch their right front to left rear, and they get hooked together. And,
yeah, you see Layson Furnace's truck just get a little. You'll see a wiggle, just a little bit of a wiggle, enough that his right front gets into Jim Duda here. It's just a little wiggle, a touch, and that's enough to unsettle Jim Duda's truck. And then after that, they can't get off of each other.
No, they cannot. Now, interestingly enough, neither one of those trucks has the meatball. I would venture a guess that Layson Furnace, well, he did not come down the pit road. Jim Duda is going to come to pit lane to effect repair, but Layson Furnace, he didn't even come to repair his damage.
Jim Duda actually he made contact with the inside wall. He made contact on the front of the truck and the rear on the tailgate of the truck as well. So I would imagine that he would want to get as much of this damage fixed as possible. Pocono is a great opportunity for drivers to get into the pit area, and with these long caution periods and how long it takes to get around this 2.5 mile triangle. Oh, and now we have some festivities going on. Is that Justin Osterman in the infield? What's going on?
Let's see. Justin Osterman is around in turn number 1.
Oh, Witt. Oh, no. Osterman just stops on the racetrack. I believe he had a mechanical failure. And is that Paul Witt?
Well, here's Osterman.
Yes, it's Paul Witt.
It is Paul Witt. We're watching the situation unfold here in a replay. Don't quite see it yet.
Yeah, Osterman is actually now he's talking in the server and he's letting the other drivers know how he's apologizing profusely. He had a mechanical failure, and he lost vision in the server, and so he just turned to left to get out of the way, but not knowing who was behind him. There's Paul Witt, the unfortunate recipient of this particular incident.
Yeah, and
because not only is he turning left, but he's out of the gas. So he's practically stopping in front of Paul Witt.
Yeah, and
no one expects that to happen under caution, honestly.
No, and that's a hard lick, especially for Paul Witt. We're going to get live pictures of Paul Witt's truck, and there is significant damage to the front end of that machine.
Sure is to the front end, yeah.
So he'll come down. He'll bring the admin box number 29 down, but he's going to need a new nose and a new hood on that truck. Jim Duda remains on the pit lane. He's been under repair for nearly 2 minutes, and so he's going to go a lap down here. Let's hope that Paul Witt does not. Of course, we are going to have another stage here, and so there's going to be time. Paul Witt also has a black flag, although that's going to be cleared by the administration. Clearly, he didn't do anything.
That was completely something unavoidable in this particular instance. That was a mechanical failure that no one prepared for. Now, he wasn't in the pits very long. There is still significant damage visible to the 29 truck.
19.3 seconds was the pit stop. He did not take tires, and so Paul Witt is going to have a damaged truck for at least the next little bit. Of course, he wanted to get out and get going because we're going to go back to green here, Sam.
Yeah, he's going to be. I think, me personally, I'm looking at the right front of this truck. It looks like he's going to have a handful of a truck that's going to be pushing quite a bit. So we'll be interested to see how Paul Witt overcomes this adversity he's been handed here in the event.
Now remember, we're going to have one more caution at least. We know that that's going to happen, and it's not going to be a long time before it does. The next stage...
No, we're only about 8 laps within that caution, yeah.
Yeah, the next stage break is at lap 40, so Paul Witt thinking, man, as long as I cannot go a lap down here, and he'd have to lose 8-9 seconds a lap to do it, he's going to be in pretty decent shape. Tell you who else is in decent shape, that's Chad Dulabon. He's got the inside for this start. He's going to hit the loud button, stand on the loud pedal, and he'll get away from Logan Edwards. Big jump from Chad Dulabon as they go down into turn 1.
They're spreading out. There's somebody getting out of the way there at the back of the field.
Well, we got trouble. It's Justin Osterman. Justin Osterman is around in turn number 1. We're going to stay green. Osterman very slow. Now he's going to light the rear tires up. There he goes. And let's what happens here? Osterman goes down into turn number 1, and rear end comes around. He did not.
Wow, what an incredible job of driving by all the drivers that were behind him. I don't know how he wasn't T-boned in all of that, because he was sideways twice in the front of traffic, and everyone was able to manage to get around him. What a fantastic piece of driving by the drivers behind him.
Yes, indeed. We'll get back to the closest battle in the top 10. That's going to be Ryan O'Donohue. He is looking at Matty Wagner. Wagner is back up to where he started. He's currently 5th, and he's got a very rapid Ryan O'Donohue working on him in 6th.
Boy, that really, really divided this field up. You've got the front runners that are nose to tail, and they're with a little bit of a conga line that they're working the front. But then after you get to John Van Oostran, after that, there's a huge gap.
Well, we got car around in the back. It's the 44. We're going to have a caution. Hard into the wall for Jalen Story. Caution is on the racetrack one more time. Jalen Story.
Oh, wow, what?
He might have had some assistance.
Oh, well, he blinked out. He actually warped out of the server at that particular point. On my screen, he did.
Yeah, he did on my screen, too. You're watching it, and that's what happens when you warp out. And when he warped back in, he was inside the truck of Paul Witt.
And Corey Palermo.
Yeah, and there you see he's in and out of the server even as he's crashing hard into the wall, the inside retaining wall for Jalen Story. And that's going to be a huge break for Paul Witt here.
Yeah, it was you can actually even see it in the broadcast where the truck literally disappears. All you see is the smoke coming off of the tires.
Excuse me, Sam. Yeah. And that's very disconcerting, especially when you're another driver around. You see that car disappear, that truck disappear, and you don't know where it's going to come back. And sometimes it'll reappear inside of your car. And I think that's what happened with Paul Witt and Corey Palermo. Is that Jalen Story's machine reappeared, and when it did, it reappeared inside their cars. And you see Story; he's caught up to the back of the field, and he is still blinking out a little bit, even under caution, Sam. So we're under caution, lap 35 of 80. Chad Dulabon, Logan Edwards, Chad Winstead, your front three. Do want to thank all of our sponsors, including apparently Allegra, but also
we have some takers coming down pit lane.
Oh, we have a lot of takers.
Wow,
it's going to be most of the field. I guess they figure stop now. That way we don't lose position at the stage break. Archway Industrial Coatings is a St. Louis-based floor coating company that does epoxy and urethane flooring solutions that withstand the test of time, all while meeting their customers' installation schedules and budgets. We're committed to doing the highest quality work at the lowest possible cost every time. Whether you're looking for industrial, commercial, restaurant, retail, or even concrete repair at home, now you found the perfect partner to get the job done now. Get ready to floor it with Archway. That's archwaycoatings.com, or you can talk to Sean Mott, who makes appearances as the number 5 in the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. It is a split decision, Sam. Dulabon, Winstead, Hutchins, Kirk, Brandon Wallace, Andrew Miller stopped. Paul Witt is on pit lane under repair, as is Layson Furnace and Jim Duda. Logan Edwards, Kendall Paul, Matt Wagner, Ryan O'Donohue, John Van Ostrand, they did not stop. Owen Simkovich, and we're going to show Owen here because Owen in the 85, he's on a completely different situation. He last stopped 5 laps ago under the prior caution. And so he's up to 6th. He was able to pick off Liam Anderson, Corey Palermo, Tyler Moore, and Jalen Story. After all of that, Jalen Story did not pit, Sam.
This is kind of what we ran into last night in the Grand National Series race last night. And there were just varying strategies late in the second stage and the beginning of the third stage. And so we're seeing some of that play out here tonight as well, as some of these drivers are just trying to think ahead so that they can put themselves in the best position that they can for a great finish tonight. I'm interested to see how it all plays out in regards to some of these drivers that have stayed out, because we've only got a couple of laps before the stage break happens again. So it's going to be exciting to see what their strategy is, how it works for them, and if it doesn't work, what's plan B?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. And so, I had that happen in that race that I won the pole in. We won the first stage, and then coming to get 2 to go in the second stage, about half the field pitted. I got buried, and then we wound up wrecking out in the third stage. And so, yes, you would think that strategically Winstead, Dulon, Kirk, and that crew, I've got the sneezes and it's affected me, Sam. But you would think that group would be in a situation where they would have the advantage. But we've seen it too. Even 1 lap on your tires or 2 laps under green can be a disadvantage. And by my count, we're going to have 3 green flag laps before the caution comes out again.
I will tell you this, Mark, and I have seen this work. I have seen drivers who have pit early on stage breaks like this, and they will pit early, and then they will completely fall back, knowing that there's only 1 or 2 laps. They will fall back at a minimal speed, just so that they don't go a lap down, because it would take 2 or 3 laps for them to go a lap down, even if they're at half throttle, and they'll slow down tremendously to save the tire for the next restart after the stage break. And that in itself does save enough tire for these drivers. I have seen drivers do that in the past.
You've been watching me do that, haven't you, Sam?
Because there's no reason, if you're in the back of the pack, to take those new tires and push too hard right now. Especially when there's going to be another caution here in just 2 laps.
Tell that to Chad Dulabon. He swung it all the way down to the bottom of the speedway and started passing cars in wholesale fashion. There's Chad Dulabon. He restarted this thing in 11th. He's already gained 1 spot up to 9th. Now he's working on Tyler Moore. He's got Liam Anderson just in front of him. Chad Dulabon wasting no time trying to get back to the front of this field.
I'm just watching some of these trucks that are trying to move up through the field, and they're trying to make hay while the sun is shining. I just watched Corey Palermo just about take out Owen Simkovich. You could not possibly have put anything, even jellyfish skin, between those 2 trucks. Oh, it was so close.
Let's watch them, Sam. There they are, and they've got the former leader of this event, Chad Dulabon, bearing down their deck lids. That's Simkovich in the 85, Corey Palermo in the 04, and they've got Chad Dulabon, who has now moved into 8th. He's going to move to the inside of...
The 04 is trying to discourage that pass right now.
He didn't quite get there. Meanwhile, Chad Winstead, he'll go to the inside of Liam Anderson, and here comes Duleman. He's gonna get through Simkovich, and he'll go to work, or excuse me, Palermo. He'll go to work on Owen Simkovich. This is for 6th.
Michael Kirk way gets a handful of truck coming off of turn 3 there and saves it. That opens the door for Liam Anderson as he goes flying past. Justin Osterman goes past him. He's got to stop the bleeding here and get back up into the draft. Michael Kirk does that.
Yes, he does. There is
Andrew
a battle
Miller goes
for
to the inside of him.
While we were watching the mess in the back, there is a battle for the lead. Logan Edwards on 24 lap old tires. It has Kendall Paul and Ryan O'Donohue in hot pursuit. That's Matt Wagner lurking in 4th. This is going to be the battle for the stage. These drivers
fantastic job by Logan Edwards here.
Yeah, and these guys are looking at stage points. And so if you pitted under that last caution, you're not looking at stage points. If you stayed out, you're looking for those. Kendall Paul does need them, as does Logan Edwards, as does Ryan O'Donohue. Here they come toward the line. Logan Edwards is going to win the stage.
Going to win this stage.
Well, he's got to stay until the caution comes out, but there it is. So Logan Edwards, Kendall Paul, Ryan O'Donohue, Matt Wagner, John Van Ostrin, and that's a guy we have not talked about a lot. And there's John. Give the number 70 his due. John Van Ostrin brings it home in 5th. Owen Simkovich is 6th. He holds off Chad Winstead. Chad Duleban fell all the way to 8th. From he was working on Simkovich, so something must have happened to him. John Hutchins is 9th. Corey Palermo, he is going to run 10th. Now, you're going to see Edwards, Paul, O'Donohue, Wagner, Van Ostrin, and Simkovich, as well as Corey Palermo, Liam Anderson, Tyler Moore, and Jalen Story all hit pit road here. The guys who did, and Justin Osterman is going to get the wave around, so we'll have 20 cars even on the lead lap. I would submit, Sam, that we're going to see something very similar to the last run, almost in reverse, and it's going to be interesting. Can Chad Duleban reestablish his dominance over this field? And then you have the backdrop of fuel. Are these guys going to be able to make it on gas, Sam?
That's a great question. I did not check the fuel mileage before the race in this particular instance for these trucks. I know in the Xfinity car it wasn't a question for me, but I did not look at the trucks because you're on the throttle so much more here in the truck. So 40 laps in the truck may be a stretch.
Maybe, but we're not going to have to do 40. We're probably going to have to do something like 35 would be my guess. 35, 36, something like that. That just may be on the cusp, and that's if it stays green the whole way. That's going to be right on the edge.
We still have a lot of trucks on the lead lap here. Trucks still showing on the lead lap. Justin Osterman, who's been having some mechanical issues tonight, he is showing 1 lap down. Jeremy Dunwoody had taken his truck into the pit area. He will not be finished in the race. Barry Seaman, of course, checked out early. Chuck Sweeting did not take a lap tonight.
No, and Chuck Sweeting would be credited with 24th on the event because he did sign in the lobby, so he'll get last place points, of course. But these guys they're all gonna come in the pit lane, and we're gonna see how this shakes out. Now, Chad Duleban is going to be the leader. Layson Furness is going to be second. Brandon Wallace is third, and I think everybody else will have stopped here. Chad Winstead, John Hutchins, and Michael Kirk, they all came down pit road, even though they had just previously stopped. And so that's going to leave these three as the only cars without tires. And that's going to be interesting, Sam. We've seen trucks with older tires be vulnerable. You mentioned you could slow down and run those laps really slow. That is not what Chad Dulabon did, was it?
No, it wasn't what Chad Dulabon did. He raced up there, but there the tire management here is that there are plenty of tires, and there's opportunity for these drivers to have an extra set to kind of work their way up through the field on a short run like that. And that may be what he was trying to do so that he could accumulate as many points as he could for the stage. However, now that he stayed out, that's going to be it. It's going to be a stretch for him to go that many laps.
I was going to say, even with caution, he may be in trouble on fuel as well. Of course, that's under the premise that this thing's going to go green the whole way. And based on what we've seen so far, Sam, I don't know that would be a bet that I would be willing to make. Of course,
now if there are significant cautions, the possibility could be likely. But he also he did run about 3 or 4, 3 laps there under race conditions, and all the trucks behind him will have fresher tires.
And so that's
well, not all the trucks, but the majority of them.
Yeah, everybody from fourth.
Chad Winstead has not been slow tonight by any stretch, and he's
no,
be right there.
And Chad Dulabon did look invulnerable earlier when he was out front. Of course, that was on even tires. Now we've got a split strategy. And is this a situation, Sam, where he might be vulnerable for the first time? And we've got some trucks up there that haven't been up there. John Hutchins is there. Michael Kirk is up near the front. Layson Furness, that's a new name to the series. Layson Furness, he's going to start this final stage from the outside of the front row.
Layson Furness was actually in one of our earlier cautions with Jim Duda. And so despite the contact that happened earlier, he's actually worked his way up to
We do apologize for the audio difficulty, Sam. Not coming through as clear.
So let's see how he does.
Once again, do apologize for the audio difficulties for Sam Crow. Bit of a connection issue, perhaps, on his end. No worries. We'll stay with the start. The pace car is going to come on off. Barney has the green flag in hand. We're going to go back to green flag action one more time. Chad Dulabon streaks away from Layton Furness and Chad Winstead.
We're working on this audio connection. I'm on some latency issues tonight, so we'll have to see what we can do to fix that.
That's quite all right, Sam. Chad Dulabon got the drop on the field. Layson Francis, he's looking good for second, but the field fans out behind him. 2 and 3 wide down the Long Pond straightaway.
Ryan O'Donoghue with a big run here as he gets underneath Brandon Wallace. Chad Winstead's not going to waste any time here with Layson Furness. He's going to try and get around him as quick as he can. He doesn't want Chad Dulabon getting too far out in front. But Furness is going to race him here.
Yes, he is. Chad Dulabon, he streaks away over a second in the lead. Chad Winstead, he's going to go to the bottom of Layson Furness, and here comes Ryan O'Donoghue.
What a big move by Chad Winstead. Now they're drafting here to try and get around Furness.
Yeah, they know they've got to go.
Big run there for Ryan O'Donoghue.
They know they've got to go, and now will Chad Winstead come down and pick up Ryan O'Donoghue? He will not, but O'Donoghue is going to be clear of Layson Furness anyway. Move Ryan O'Donoghue back to third, and now you've got Brandon Wallace. Brandon Wallace has not figured into this at all today. It's the first time we called his name. How about the 90? He's up to fifth, Sam.
He's doing a great job as he restarted up in the front on this last restart, and he's maintaining some position.
Yes,
Let's see if Chad Winstead and Ryan O'Donoghue are going to be able to reel Chad Dulabon in. Of course, he does have a couple of laps older tires.
Last lap for Dulabon, 53.810. Winstead, 53.794.
Right.
That's the fastest lap of the race. Winstead, 53.985. That's not going to get it. And I wonder, would Dulabon and O'Donohue be able to do like a tandem draft thing, like Daytona, Talladega, like physically lock up? Would that make him any faster, Sam?
There are tracks like Michigan where sometimes that will work, but not. It doesn't always mean the case here at Pocono. I will tell you, Chad Dulabon. Oh, we got caution on the racetrack.
Caution on the speedway. It's Justin Osterman. Slow down the Long Pond straightaway, and that truck does not appear to be driving straight.
Seems like he and Jalen Story. Or is that Jim Duda? I believe that's Jim Duda.
That would be Jim
Duda. It looks like Osterman was on the outside as they were coming into the tunnel turn. And as they go into entry, he wasn't clear of Jim Duda. Yeah, he just wasn't clear.
He wasn't clear. Turned left across the nose. Around goes Justin Osterman, and that's going to be a tough break for him because he's got the meatball. He'll have to respect that and come into the pit lane. That truck does not look like it is any fun to drive right now. We'll get on board, and you can hear it. You can hear the damage. We got a truck around under yellow. That's going to be Owen Simkovich. What?
I believe Paul Witt just chimed into the server. Yeah, Paul Witt actually gets into the back of Simkovich, and Paul Witt's taking full responsibility. He got distracted in the cockpit of that truck. He got distracted and looked away for just a second, and this is what distracted driving does.
Don't
text and drive.
Yeah.
Don't text and drive.
Don't text and drive, and that's bad news for Paul Witt. He had just gotten the front end of his
earlier
truck.
Contact. Yeah, he probably just got the right side fixed, and now the left side needs attention.
So we're going to see. I assume that we're going to see Paul Witt back on pit lane here. There you see it, Stitch on the side of that machine. Here he comes.
All right, so there's no question here that these drivers can make it on fuel from this pit stop.
Yeah, nobody. We're not worried about fuel for anybody on pit lane right now.
Right.
And it's going to be more or less everyone from Chad Dulabon on back. So Chad Dulabon's going to lead him down the pit lane. Chad Winstead, he'll come into the pits. Kendall Paul, Logan Edwards also on the pit lane. Now the question is it gas only, or are you going to take tires here? Dulabon taking tires, but we have a bunch of candidates. Gas only. Chad Dulabon took all 4 corners. Paul Witt, he's down and away 14.9 seconds. So he didn't fix any damage there, Sam.
That's interesting that he wouldn't fix any damage. That was significant contact. We noticed last night, and I just wonder if you have that telemetry, but last night we noticed that there were a lot of drivers that opted to take 2 right side tires on some of these stops. Now, the track conditions have been very conducive for these trucks to run well. I mean, the track temperature right now is only 77 degrees. It's racy. This track is very racy. And so I was saying last night that some drivers really appreciate the loose feeling of taking just 2 tires. And so I'm just curious if any trucks were some of the ones were they just fuel, or did some people take 2 tires?
Well, that's a great question, Sam. So in looking at the field as it stands, Brandon Wallace 6.4, Kendall Paul 5.3, Chad Winstead 9.7. So it would be safe to it would be safe to surmise that Wallace and Paul gas only. Winstead got rights. Michael Kirk and Andrew Miller got gas only. Chad Dulabon got 4. Jim Duda gas only. Layson Furnace, Logan Edwards, and Paul Witt all took 4. And now we're going to have
Now we have trucks coming back into the pits. It looks like they may top off one more time. So fuel actually could have been really more of a factor than we had thought.
Could be. You could also be looking at a situation, Sam, where guys might be thinking twice, like Paul Witt, for example. It didn't appear as though he repaired any damage, so maybe he's thinking, all right, well, I'll come down and I'll come down and grab some repair. Owen Simkovich, too fast entering, and so that's going to drop him to the tail end.
Owen Simkovich probably had to call and order a new tailgate for that truck, honestly.
Yes, he did, and that's a tough break for him. No fault of his own, and now he's in pit lane. He's under repair, and he's got the black flag. He'll have to serve that one. Meanwhile,
and this last incident was the final straw for Justin Osterman. Mr. Excitement has taken his truck back to the garage area.
And with that, we'll turn the split off and just show you the top 20. There are 19 trucks left in the event. Ryan O'Donohue leads it. He's going to have John Hutchins is outside. Liam Anderson, how about Liam? He's going to be third. Matty Wagner fourth. Jalen Story, Tyler Moore going to make up row 3. Then Michael Kirk and Brandon Wallace row 4. Andrew Miller and Logan Edwards, the old Mark Brain. They're going to be in row number 5. Chad Dulabon, class of the field. Dulabon is now 11th. And so he'll restart.
Let's remind
from row
ourselves
6.
tonight, Mark, if we really think about it closely, Chad Dulabon, there have been some races where Chad Dulabon was the class of the field, and he was, and he's actually been one of the top running trucks all season long up to this particular juncture. But some of the events that unfold late in the races sometimes do not work for the fastest truck. The fastest truck doesn't always win.
Green flag,
So we could see a lot of things unfold here in the last stage as the green flag flies and they're going down into turn 1. So far, everyone's minding their business until Logan Edwards finally steps out, and they're 3 wide inside of Andrew Miller, 4 wide going inside turn 1.
Yes, they are, and here's that battle. Matt Wagner, he's going to sneak past John Hutchins in a second. They also get by Liam Anderson. So the order, O'Donohue.
Oh, they touch coming off of the corner.
Logan Edwards rides the bumps, never takes his...
Brandon Wallace is still bouncing off trucks.
They're gonna try to go 3 wide through the tunnel, Sam. Logan Edwards backs out of it. They are 3
Dulabon
wide.
sticks it in there in the middle.
They did go 3 wide. They did go 3 wide through the tunnel. You're not supposed to
I
be able to
can't
do
believe they
that.
survived that. They are still 3 wide as they go into turn 3.
Well, they're trying.
Simkovich, he announces a pit stop here, and they're battling hard off of turn 3. Chad Winstead is caught in the middle of the blender. Oh, we've got one truck into the wall, but he saves it.
That's Jalen Story. He got kind of punted out of line there. We're going to get back to the battle because it rages fiercely. Here goes Chad Dulabon. He's going to throw it underneath Andrew Miller going into turn number 1. Dulabon up from 11th to 7th. He is working on 6th. That's Andrew Miller. Ryan O'Donohue has made the break. He's about half a second up over Matty Wagner. Wagner, Hutchins have broken away from Leon Anderson, and Anderson's got some daylight back to Tyler Moore. But Tyler Moore is next up on the Chad Dulabon hit parade. Here comes Dulabon to the bottom through the tunnel turn. That's turn number 2.
Now, this is something that Ryan O'Donoghue's been waiting for a while. He's wanting to catch a break, he said, when we talked to him earlier, and so this could be the break that he's looking for, to have clean air and out front, and he can run his own pace. And Chad Dulabon is trying to...
Well, we got cars running in the back. It's Michael Kirk, Jim Duda. We've got one hard into the wall. Hard in the wall. That's Corey Palermo. I believe Palermo is going to tow it. That crash happened into the pit lane, and so we're going to stay green. How much longer we stay green, though, Sam, I don't know, because these trucks are determined to be on top of one another. You're looking at Layson Furness, Andrew Miller, Kendall Paul, Brandon Wallace, Logan Edwards, Paul Witt, all in a wad right there. This is 7th through about 12th.
Oh, Michael Kirk gets completely sideways off of turn 3, and he just careens down to the inside and takes out a couple of trucks as they try to avoid him. And of course, being off of the racetrack and on the pit lane, there's
no caution.
No caution. That was Jim Duda and Corey Palermo. Unfortunately, were trying to avoid the accident.
We did watch Chad Dulabon. He made his way past Liam Anderson, so put Dulabon into 4th. We'll go back to this battle. Logan Edwards, he's going to fire it to the inside of Kendall Paul. See if he can't wrest that 9th place away. Kendall Paul's got the high side, though. He's gonna get the momentum, get off of turn 1, and be able to hold his position. Logan Edwards is going to now switch lanes. He'll go to the high side, see if he can't slingshot past Layson Furness.
Whew. you look back, you look back here where Tyler Moore is, and these trucks. It's almost like they're running a pace lap. They're 2 by 2 by 2.
They are. Eventually you would think that the outside is going to prevail here. You would think. But it's almost going to be
they're all getting draft help, and that's why you see Tyler Moore kind of working both lines here. He's just trying not to allow either line to get a big run on him. That's Kendall Paul's cue there on the top side. Now they're 3 wide as they come off of turn 1.
All the way to the bottom goes Lace and Furnace. That's Tyler Moore in the middle. Logan Edwards is gonna drive right behind.
Edwards,
big push. So Edwards and Kendall Paul are gonna get clear. Meanwhile, Paul Witt goes to the bottom of Tyler Moore and Chad Winstead. They put Moore in the middle. He's gonna get kicked to the back, and he'll lose another position to Brandon Wallace. Meanwhile, Paul Witt has to get out of the gas because he just about, Sam, ran over Chad Winstead. But
he's actually making comment about it too, about how close it was.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Chad Dulaban has made it back up to the front. That's John Hutchins and Michael Kirk. Kirk is a lap down here. He was one of those cars that one of those trucks that crashed into the pit lane. Kirk came and got service, but he is 1 lap down to the leaders.
There's still a lot of racing. There's still a lot of racing here. There's 24 laps still left in this event. There's still a lot of racing to go. So it's going to be interesting to see how many laps it may take Chad Dulaban to catch the leader. However, how much tire has he used to do so? But we've already learned that Chad Dulaban. Oh, my goodness, he's sideways coming off of turn 3.
Michael Kirk's going to slide it down.
And that'll bring out the caution.
Toward the pit lane. Now that is the yellow flag. All right. So, Sam, we'll put it to you here.
Who saved tires?
Who saved it? There's your pit stop count. Now that doesn't
Who saved tires.
That doesn't necessarily mean, Sam, that they took tires on all those stops or that they took all 4 tires on those stops. But there's the count. So we would assume that O'Donohue and Wagner have a set of tires because they've only stopped twice. Same for Liam Anderson. We would assume that he has a set of tires.
If they've only stopped twice, there's a good possibility they have 2 sets of tires.
That's good. Well, they might have 2. Anybody you see with a 3 next to their name, they may have 1 set.
That's exactly right. Unless they topped off.
Unless it was a top off.
Because we did see some drivers come in to top off.
We most certainly did. But if you see a 5 or greater, a 4, 5 or greater, they may not. That driver may not have a set of tires to work with here. And so we'll kind of keep an eye on Ryan O'Donohue. He is the leader. Let's just keep an eye on him and see what
Greg
happens
Evans
here.
has chimed into the chat tonight. Greg Evans, our Black Magic Studios Grand National winner last night here at Pocono, and he's saying in the trucks you can make up time and save tire. But Greg, let's just face it, everyone is not you.
Touche. Greg Evans has nearly permanently ingrained his name on the winner's trophy in the Black Magic Studios Grand National Series on Thursday nights. There's the answer to your pit stop question. Everyone, with the exception of Andrew Miller, has brought their car down the pit lane. There you see the lucky dog come through. That's going to be Omam Simkovic, and so he'll get back on the leader lap. Everybody else, though, has brought it down to pit lane, Sam.
Someone jumped out really quick here. There's some trucks. Logan Edwards and several others are jumping out really quick.
There you go. So some split strategies. Chad Dulaban, 10 seconds, 2 tires. Logan Edwards, John Hutchins, 9 seconds, 2 tires. Lace and Furnace. Paul Witt, same deal, 2 tires. Matt Wagner, Ryan O'Donohue, Kendall Paul, Chad Winstead, Liam Anderson, 4 tires. But they're going to be mired now. The first car on 4, that's going to be Matt Wagner in 7th. And there's Matty Wags.
And as I was saying earlier, there will be drivers who like the loose condition that may feel, but we also brought up something that we have to be mindful of in these events is that when you get late race cautions, we were talking about how iRacing has a setting on the pit stops that you can fix where it will only fill the tank up to finish the event. It will only give you enough fuel to finish the event. And so some drivers will override that. Some drivers will add more fuel to fill the tank ups because they like the feel of the truck with a full tank of fuel. Other drivers that may have taken 2 tires may like that lighter fuel load because it will tighten the truck up a little bit and with a loose condition with just 2 tires. So there's a lot. There is some play with the setup here late in the race when you're talking about pit stops.
You know, there is, Sam. Tyler Moore just checked in. That is the 26 car. He's in 16th place. Tyler Moore, he does have a set of tires remaining. And so keep an eye on the 26. If we get another caution, Sam, this is going to get interesting.
I will tell you the thing about tires here at Pocono is that you have to have somewhere to race if you have tires. And these drivers can literally take up the whole racetrack. And even if you have fresh tires, it may be hard to get through traffic.
Yeah, that's very true. The line here, although the track is, and you can see it, it's 5 lanes wide all the way around, 6 or 7 lanes, maybe as many as 8, depending on how you want to count them on the main straightaway. It is infinitely wide, but the line that you want to take is very, very small, very, very narrow. Really, you're looking at hitting a space about half the width of one of those seams.
Exactly.
And so Corey Palermo's checked in. He said he's getting checked out of the infield care center. The wall hurts. And poor Corey Palermo is going to be out of this event. He'll be credited with 19th place. Justin Osterman, of course.
Thank God for the safer barriers, Corey. We're really thankful for the safer barriers.
And that this is all electrons, and so we don't get hurt. Although I did sprain. I have seen people sprain or break their thumbs, right, with direct drive wheels.
I've heard of people getting seriously injured on full motion machines.
Yeah. My dad did that. Broke his thumbs.
We're getting ready to go back to green.
Go back to green. He did. I told him, when I first got direct drive, if you're gonna crash, take your hands off the wheel. He didn't listen. Chad Dulaban, he's not taking his hands off the wheel. He's taking his hands to the lead. Chad Dulaban right under Andrew Miller, and that didn't take long. That lasted less than a corner. And meanwhile, Liam Anderson sideways in the back. He's going to go around. He's going to save it. Still around. Tail of that truck is on the racing surface. We stay green. Paul went hard in the wall.
Donahue. Oh no, Rhino Donahue is involved in this particular incident as well, and I believe that's Paul Witt. Oh no, that was incredibly hard contact into the turn 2 wall.
Yes, it was. Here we go. You see the truck of Liam Anderson spinning in the background. That is not what caused the caution. Ryan O'Donohue just comes down a little bit off the wall and gets into Paul Witt. They go hard into the wall, hard for Witt. O'Donohue looks like he's going to get away with it, but then he gets collected at the end, and he goes nose to back to nose to back.
I don't know that there is a corner on Paul Witt's truck that has not been damaged in some regards tonight. He has seen his fair share of action.
He has indeed. Let's get on board with Ryan O'Donohue, and we'll kind of show you what this looks like. There's Paul Witt to the inside. Let's get rid of the scoreboard so our fans at home can see it. And he just moves a little bit. Paul Witt's there. Witt hits hard. And here's the I'm all right. I'm not all right. He thought he might have been able to sneak through there, and he's going to hit hard 3 or 4 times on the front and the back of that machine, and that might be the final one. The motor doesn't go dead, so if Ryan O'Donohue can limp this around, Sam, he might be all right.
Or all right enough to finish the event under power. That's
Well,
pretty significant damage to that truck on the front and the rear.
it is. Now remember, we've got long caution laps here at Pocono. He's going to have about 2 minutes that he's able to fix it. So we'll see. I'm assuming we're going to see Paul Witt back on the pit lane. Liam Anderson had also been around in an unrelated matter under that yellow, and so Liam is going to bring it in the pits as well. Although Liam did not hit anything, there he is.
Michael Kirk will be our lucky dog recipient this time. Now, just like I expected, the first stage, we did have one caution in the first stage, and other than that caution, it seemed to be pretty mild. But here late in the event, these drivers are not going to leave anything out there that they can't burn up. So they really are going to be aggressive in the closing laps of this race with 18 to go. They're going to do everything in their power to try and make up as many spots as they can. Whereas Chad Dulabon is going to try and jump out to a huge lead on a restart here and just take advantage of those fresh tires and clean air and just stay away from the chaos.
Yes, he is. And here's the other one, that you might want to kind of think about. Do not discount Ryan O'Donoghue if he's able to get that truck fixed. Greg Evans, as you recall, last night, he took serious damage in an accident in that race. Greg Evans came back and won that event. And he's saying that we need to get Sam Remark in an AMA race. I've been there and done that, Greg. But I am now retired from competition.
Baloney. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I race as much as I want to race, not on a timetable anymore. How's that?
And the truth shall set you free.
I have raced this series. Matter of fact, I finished second to Kyle Heath last year in the truck series in the AMA. Won a couple of races. Won at the biggest track. Won at Talladega. Won at Bristol on the smallest track on the schedule. So. Have that distinction. I've won a couple of poles in this series. It's a fun series, and we need to see. I agree, Greg. I tell you what, Greg, you should call the race with me. We'll put Sam in the car. I think that's a great idea.
It'd be just an injustice to have me out in the field.
Now Evans and Matty Wagner are talking to.
I don't put on near as good a show as Greg Evans does.
But don't count Ryan O'Donoghue out. A minute 25 under repair. We're going to get back and show.
And he still has to catch the field here, so he'll be at tail end the longest line.
He does, and there's still some damage on that truck. It is not all the way fixed.
Well, Paul Witt didn't have his completely fixed earlier, and he was still able to maintain some race speed.
Yes, he was, and that's Ryan O'Donoghue. We'll get on board. Everything appears to be straight, Sam. And I don't hear a miss or a skip, so that's good, right?
Yeah, and the damage to the rear is not so catastrophic that it may affect. Now that right front damage may give him a terrible push.
It does, but we thought the same thing about Paul Witt. He went to the front. And I don't believe that we're done with yellows by a long shot here, Sam.
No, especially the way these drivers are and how aggressive they are here in the closing laps.
So we'll reset the field for you real quick. Chad Dulabon, your leader. Andrew Miller second. Andrew Miller second. Hutchins and Edwards, they're going to make up row two. We're back to green. Chad Dulabon.
Chad Dulabon. He actually gets into the postal truck and he just checks out. He hauls the mail going into turn one.
Logan Edwards, he's going to dive underneath of Andrew Miller and see if he can't try to keep up with Chad Dulabon. That's Edwards on the bottom, Miller to the high side in the yellow truck as they exit turn one, side by side, just like the start of this race, Sam.
John Hutchins has worked his way up here in the top 5. Great showing by John Hutchins right now, especially after the tough night that he had last night. Chad Winstead has been fast throughout the event, and now he's trying to make himself known again up into the front. But John Hutchins is not going to let him go quietly by. He's going to make sure they fight him for this spot.
Yes, he is, and there you go. There you see Andrew Miller holding down second place. He is significantly older rubber than
Watch the
trucks
draft
around
by
him.
Edwards here.
Now here he goes. Now here, what Logan Edwards needs to do is he needs to deny Andrew Miller the ability to turn in here. Really dictate the line from Andrew Miller. He doesn't quite do it. Now Miller, he's going to have a run to the high side, but the older tires, he can't.
He can do a little slide job here. Oh, Chad Winstead, major slide job in front of John Hutchins. You couldn't have got a piece of paper between those two trucks.
No, you
Kendall Paul
couldn't.
is watching all of this as he's looking on the outside going into turn 2.
Let's jump on board. Let's jump in the cockpit with Kendall Paul. This is what he's seeing. He's looking at John Hutchins in that 72 Ford. He's got Chad Winstead in front of him. Kendall Paul right down against the rumble strips in turn number 3. We'll see what kind of an exit he gets here and see if he can't draw alongside. Now, see, now would be the time to make that move on the inside down the front because you've got help in front of you. You've got help in front of you in the form of Chad Winstead. Winstead, he's going to dive underneath Andrew Miller. Winstead is going to go to third, put Miller back to fourth. Here comes John Hutchins. Here comes Kendall Paul.
Oh, big run by Kendall Paul on the bottom, and now that puts them almost 3 wide, but John Hutchins thinks twice about it. Kendall Paul will hold that position going into the tunnel turn. Matt Wagner is looking to see exactly how this is going to sort out.
Well, he backed out is what he did to watch it sort out. We're riding on board Matt Wagner. He cedes the position to
Oh, and
Kendall
Andrew
Paul.
Miller catches the piece of the wall out of 2. That opens the door for Hutchins as he goes around the outside.
Yes, he does. Wagner's going to be trapped on the bottom behind Andrew Miller. Miller's going to slide up in front of Kendall Paul. That's going to allow Wags to get underneath Kendall Paul.
Oh,
Now
big
he's
run by
underneath
Matt Wagner.
Kendall Paul went to give a shot to Andrew Miller to kind of push him clear, and it wound up just turning Andrew Miller loose. Wagner gets all the way away from Andrew Miller. He'll sail it off into turn number 1 clear, so move Wagner up to 5th, Hutchins to 4th, Miller to 6th, Kendall Paul to 7th, and now there's 3 wide, Lace and Furnace on the inside.
Andrew Miller is dropping through this field dramatically as truck after truck begins to pass him. Chad Dulabon is now checking out as he's beginning to make a bid that he's wanting to win this race by a landslide, and so Logan Edwards is falling behind into the clutches of Chad Winstead.
Yeah, here you see the interval for Chad Dulabon. It is not not close. There they come.
Dulabon's still trying to break that draft. He's still just trying everything in his power. He wants to get it at about 1.2, 1.5. If he can get that draft to there, then he knows that he's broke free of those other trucks. They can't utilize the draft to pull up on him. That's why you see him weaving down these straightaways.
Well, and at what point has he broken the draft, Sam? Is there an envelope? Is there a number that you can put on it for the fans at home?
Yeah, if he can get about 1.2, 1.5 out ahead of these trucks, then the draft does not come into effect as much for those trucks that are trying to follow him. Now, if Chad Winstead could get big runs on Logan Edwards and push him and get the bump draft going on the straightaways, then they can close this thing up.
Here's what I wanted to
But it's hard to do. It's very, very hard to do.
The drone gives you a great perspective on the interval, and we do want to thank Whiplash SimCams for providing us with these pictures.
Than he is this last time.
Yeah, well, and Chad Dulabon didn't necessarily make a huge effort on that last lap to break the draft. He's not making an effort down the Long Pond straightaway. We'll see what he does. We'll see what he does in between the tunnel turn and turn number 3 here. But as long as he's
not... You go back and you look at John Hutchins and you see Kendall Paul, you'll see a great example of how Kendall Paul is right on the tailgate of Hutchins' truck. And down the Long Pond straightaway, he's really giving that big push to try and get the momentum going so that they can catch those 2 trucks in front of him.
We'll see if he can get there down in the front straight as well. John Hutchins is in front of the roof cam that sits atop Kendall Paul. Here we go down the front. We'll see if he can get to him and give him a shot, Sam.
Yep, Chad Winstead is doing the same thing now. He's incredibly close to Logan Edwards. Look at the two lines that they're running differently. Logan Edwards chooses to go up on the high side so he can get that run off the top. Chad Winstead goes down to the bottom to try and get more grip, and that he can fall in closer to Logan Edwards as they come off the corner. Big push from Matt Wagner behind Kendall Paul here.
It takes some.
Despite all the things that have happened with Jim Duda tonight, he's worked his way back up into the 8th position.
Yeah, there he is. He's in a battle with Layson Furness. This is 7th and 8th. Furness has it. Duda might want to have it. Owen Simkovich, he's back to 9th. He was a lap down not so long ago. And Brandon Wallace has put in a yeoman's effort. He runs 10th in that red truck.
Chad Winstead, big run here, going down into turn 1. He goes to the bottom and he makes the pass cleanly on Logan Edwards. And now Chad Winstead has decided that he wants to make a bid within the last 10 laps of this event. He wants to make a bid of making a run on Chad Dulabon. Does he have enough tire here? Has he saved enough? Has he conserved enough? And can he catch Chad Dulabon, who has been consistently fast all night long?
Well, and now you see Logan Edwards. He's all over the back end of Chad Winstead. Could that have been a strategic switch? Is that something that maybe those guys are communicating on? Like, hey, I'm getting a little bit.
Great observation.
I'm getting a little bit hot. You mind letting me by? You push me for a little bit.
Great observation. Great observation. But now they did lose in that pass. They did lose a full 10th to Chad Dulabon.
Yeah, they did. They had been reeling him in anywhere between a tenth and half a tenth to a tenth a lap. They lost a tenth that last time by. Can't afford to do that. We are down, Sam, to 9 laps to go here, and so this is not over by any stretch. Chad Winstead has pulled away from Logan Edwards, though.
Yeah, clearly Logan Edwards has probably used up enough of his truck that he can't keep pace with Winstead. Winstead is now just trying everything that he can to stay within the draft of Chad Dulabon. That'll be the one factor that will help him catch the 98 in the closing laps. He's got a great line. I love the line that Chad Winstead is using right now, but Dulabon has proved that he's going to do everything in his power to break this pull so that Winstead does not get a run on him. Time Winstead really closed up, closed in within 2 tenths on that particular lap alone.
54.753 for Chad Dulabon, 54.524 for Chad Winstead that time by a 54.792 for Logan Edwards. And so Edwards has started to lose the pace. Matty Wagner has been all over Kendall Paul trying to break into that top 5. He just can't quite get there. We're going to flip-flop back there. We're going to look at this battle, 4th, 5th, and 6th. The front 3 are all just about equidistant now between them. So this is the best battle on the racetrack. Matt Wagner is looking at Kendall Paul and John Hutchins. And those 3 trucks really have been locked together, Sam, for quite some time.
Yes, sir. I think Kendall Paul's probably going to have the best opportunity that he could to make a pass right there, but he chooses just to push John Hutchins down the straightaway. He wants to continue to utilize the draft here. He doesn't want to get racy and cause another deficit for them not to be able to catch the trucks that are in front of them. John Hutchins is really having a great run tonight. It's good to see that he's having this kind of pace late in the event. But now Kendall Paul gets on the inside of him, and he decides that he's going to try and close in on Logan Edwards as he backs up from Chad Winstead.
Kendall Paul now is going to drop it to the inside of John Hutchins, move Kendall Paul into 4th, Hutchins to 5th. Wagner is going to see if he can't capitalize. And just to kind of put a bow on that discussion about Hutchins and Paul and the pushes that were happening, those two are teammates. Hutchins is a part of that Dark Horse Performance organization. Matt Wagner
washes up and almost collects John Hutchins there, but they both were able to keep it tight and racy. It was close, but there was no contact.
But the point being is that those two are in Discord together. They are communicating, and so just to kind of put an observation in there. If you see Kendall Paul or John Hutchins
could very
move,
well been saying, "Hey, look, Kendall, you got way more pace than I do. I'm going to let you go. Pass me on the inside," that kind of thing.
Could have been, or Kendall Paul had been pushing him for quite some time. Maybe Kendall Paul was running a little bit warm. It could have been a pace thing. It could have been John Hutchins, saying, hey, my tires are starting to go away. I don't want to hold you up. It could have been, they could have said nothing. Kendall Paul.
This is true. Matt Wagner with a big dive into the corner here on the inside of John Hutchins as they race hard off of turn 3. Whoa, big wiggle from Hutchins there.
Yes, he does.
Chad Winstead has now closed in another 2/10 on Chad Dulaban.
Yeah,
he's in a window. He's in a window here now where the draft can really come into play if he has enough tire left.
There they are. Chad Winstead. It's the Chad and Chad. So one more time, these two guys named Chad have won 5 of the rounds here in the AMA Truck Series. They're the only 2 multiple winners.
Yeah, these 2 drivers are no strangers to one another as we get within 5 laps of the finish here. Now that the race is starting to sort out, Wagner and Hutchins are really some of the closest racing that we see. There's a group of 3 behind them, but the rest of the field is pretty spread out outside of Jalen Story and Andrew Miller, but they're sorting that out quickly. And so if you really want to pay close attention to what's going to happen in the closing laps, it's going to have to be to see if Chad Winstead can finish this prolific charge to the front that he's been doing in the late stages of this race. He is closing in even more now on Chad Dulaban as he is within 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, I got another half of a tenth that last time by 8:06 to a 7:63. Dulaban is losing time to Chad Winstead, but is Winstead going to run out of time?
Catching him's one thing, passing him is another. Once he gets to him, now he's going to start getting a little aero push. If he gets a run, he needs to take advantage of that run. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chad Winstead handles this particular closing laps.
Yes, he does. And there you see the interval.
Oh, he's knocking on the door now.
Steadily declining.
Another full tenth that time by as Chad Winstead is clearly wanting to grab the trailer hitch of the 98 truck.
Speaking of the trailer hitch of the 98 truck, why don't we ride on it, Sam?
Let's watch and see if the 34 gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's really exciting to watch in the closing laps here. We're going to have a battle for the lead.
55.020 for Dulaban, 54.911 for Winstead. The gap is expanding a little bit through the tunnel turn. It's almost back to 4/10. Where does he pick up the most time, Sam?
The straightaways are really where he picks up the most time because the aero push is a lot through the corners. Chad Winstead could hit a little dead spot behind Dulaban here. He wants to take advantage of the draft on the straightaways, and Dulaban knows it. That's why he's weaving going down the front stretch. It may benefit Winstead to maybe look at a different line so that he would not get caught in the wash of the 98 truck in the corners.
Well, and here's the other bit. The weave is effective at breaking the draft, but one of the things that doesn't happen with the weave is your tires cool down the straightaways. The more you move the wheel, the more friction's generated across the surface. So you do lose overall tire life and grip the more you do that. And the more severe those are. Logan Edwards just pounded the wall in front of Kendall Paul, and so that's going to move Kendall into the bottom step of the podium. But the eyes are on Chad. The eyes are on the Chad and Chad show as we've christened it here.
Has hit this dead spot. Yeah, I think he's hit this dead spot here in these closing laps as we're on the final lap here.
He just can't quite get there.
Yeah, he gets within that 3/4 segment, but in the corners you can't utilize you don't have the fresh air on the nose quite as much as you have before. You can close on the draft a little bit on the straightaways, but it looks like he's just going to run out of time here. It's a valiant effort that Chad Winstead had, and unless Chad Dulaban makes a mistake here, it looks like it's going to be a Chad 1-2 finish here at Pocono.
All Stars and Stripes coming off of the tunnel turn there for these drivers. They'll enter turn 3. They'll exit turn 3, which absolutely baffles my good friend and fellow Indy Alliance driver Chris Wellhite. Chad Dulaban, he's going to turn it left down the checkers, and he'll win the Pocono 200 here in the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. Chad Winstead is second. Kendall Paul rounds out your podium. Logan Edwards and John Hutchins will bring it home fourth and fifth, Sam.
Great run by Hutchins and Wagner tonight. Really, and Wallace, what a fantastic finish for Brandon Wallace. As we mentioned him earlier about running up front on a restart, and so Brandon Wallace with a 7th place finish. John Van Ostrand, Owen Simkovich with top 10 finishes. These are drivers that we don't get the privilege of calling out on top 10 finishes every week. So it's nice to see that they have had a good event tonight.
Yes, indeed. Chad Dulaban is going to be your winner. From Chad Winstead and Kendall Paul, Logan Edwards, John Hutchins round out the top 5. Matt Wagner, he's going to bring it home 6. Brandon Wallace, what a run for Brandon Wallace. He comes home 7th. Jim Duda in 8th. John Van Ostrand is 9th. And Owen Simkovich, at one time he was a lap down, Sam. He's going to be credited with 10th. In 11th, we're going to have Michael Kirk.
Michael Kirk also was a lap down and came back and finished in 11th. That's great.
Yes, he did. Layson Furnace, he's going to run 12th. Liam Anderson 13th. Andrew Miller 14th. Paul Witt rounds out the top 15. Ryan O'Donohue, crash damage for Witt and O'Donohue, both of them fast early. O'Donohue will be 16th. Tyler Moore 17th. Jalen Story, Corey Palermo are the last of the runners in 18th and 19th. Justin Osterman does not finish in 20th. Other cars not finishing: Keith Graham, Jeremy Dunwoody, Barry Seaman, and Chuck Sweeting.
Well, that was exciting to see how that was going to play out there at the end of the race. I really thought that Chad Winstead was going to be able to catch Chad Dulaban, but either he used up those tires to close that gap, or he just hit that little dead spot, and Chad Dulaban was able to hold him off. And so it was interesting to see how it all played out there at the end.
Yes, indeed. And we do have our third place runner, Kendall Paul, in the broadcasting booth with us. Kendall, you got Mark and Sam. And did you have anything for the Chads, or was it just a battle for third, my man?
I don't know. I would like to think we had something for him, but just ran out of time, and we spent too much time going through traffic. But really happy with the third place finish for the weekend. Truck Wash, Charlie's Car Wash, number 78 Ford F-150.
Yeah, great run. Sam?
Dale, fantastic run. You had some really shining moments tonight in the race, and it was exciting to watch you to drive up through the field. My main question for you tonight, though, is can you just give us a little insight just about how do you reset, Kendall? How do you go from last night where you were having issues, mechanical issues, and out of the race so early, and then turn around and reset yourself and then able to get a podium finish tonight? Can you just give us a little insight about how you do that?
Mainly it's just forgetting about it. And what's really nice about both the series right now is we have a win in both series, so we don't have to worry about playoffs. We're already locked into the playoffs, so that weight's off the shoulders. So it's really easy to kind of reset for me there. Yeah, we had Garage 61 wasn't liking iRacing for some reason. It caused me to blink out last night, so no longer Garage 61's on the computer no more. But no issues tonight, and really happy with the third place finish, coming back from a vacation and getting back at it.
I was interested to see in the closing laps there, you were behind John Hutchins, and so you were. It seemed like at times you were clearly faster than John. Were you just hoping that maybe you could just keep pushing him and that you could make up some time with a little bit of the draft?
John's a teammate, so I was mainly trying to help him out and try to help him get around guys and catch some guys and everything. And I'm really bad about that, I guess. I'm not really selfish when it comes that way. So I was trying my best to help him, and once you kind of realize you can't really help him much more, his bed's kind of made, you kind of got to make your own moves and that sort of thing. And if we made a pass earlier, could we have caught both the Chads? Maybe, but I don't have any regrets doing that. I helped out a teammate with a top 5, and would do that for anybody, and I face that myself all the time. Like, I think I got a run on Chad off of 2 or 1. I think it was in stage 2, and I started pushing him, and Chad goes, "Why are you pushing me? You should be passing me." I was like, bad habit. Trying to help out my teammates.
Well, it's certainly appreciated that you're such an unselfish person, Kendo. You do a great job with administrating the league, but also behind the wheel, and so we're really happy for your finish tonight.
Thank you, Sam.
There you go. That's Kendall Paul. He is accredited with 3rd place tonight. Kendall, friends,
You're gonna give
family.
him a shout out.
Yeah, friends, family, sponsor, shout outs. The floor is yours. Don't forget that, my man.
Yeah, I got to first thank Archway Industrial Coatings, series sponsor, really the league sponsor. Everything Archway's done is just fantastic, and it's amazing what they've been able to help us with and bring us where we are today and with the league. So really thanks to them, thanks to the Black Magic Studios, Admin Box, Rogue Energy, Track Racer, all the guys at DPI. Really can't thank them enough. Enjoy racing with them every week, so it makes it really fun. Got to thank the AMA staff team as well. We work really hard week in, week out, put a lot of time in this and that sort of thing, so I got to thank them. And got to thank you guys here at P1 and for putting on a fantastic broadcast, and we'll see you guys next week at Atlanta and Lime Rock.
Fantastic. Great job tonight, Kendo.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. Go celebrate, my man. We'll get you out of here. We'll get you back in the waiting room. And next up is going to be Chad Winstead. Chad, you were the second part of the Chad and Chad show. What do you think would have taken to have gotten by the 98? Or does Sam suspected you got to kind of a dead band in the arrow wash behind him and just couldn't really make up any more ground?
Yeah, I think the arrow had a little bit to do with it. A little bit was just pushing so hard to get up, trying to catch him. Definitely feel like I had really good long run speed tonight. I think if I would have played the pit strategy cycles a little bit better, I would have had a lot better shot to get around them. Had some questionable calls throughout the race, kept putting me in bad spots, so had to really work for where I landed tonight. But yeah, that was a heck of a run by Chad, and had a blast trying to run him down there at the end.
Well, it was certainly exciting for me. I was really watching you closely in the closing laps, Chad. Fantastic finish tonight. It's so good to see you back on the podium, and we're always enjoying watching you race up front. I do want to get a little input from you about you mentioned it just a moment ago in the interview. I would like to get a little input from you about what's going through your mind with the traffic tonight, because there were, a lot of the traffic tonight in the first stage. It didn't seem quite as eager, so to speak, but later it just seemed to be so combative. Can you just give us a little about what's going through your head during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously the draft plays a little bit of a role here in Pocono, keeping trucks closer together. I think everybody's being a little conservative at the first part of the race and then knowing when they need to push in the second half. But the traffic was a little bit difficult to manage at times because of the draft, and it's just a little hard to get some runs sometimes, and everybody was on a different strategy, it seemed, with tires and fuel and everything. And I wish I would have played the track position better like I did the first half of the race. I, short pitted the end of stage 2 there, and that's kind of where my downfall was.
Yeah, we were watching all of that. Yeah, it was interesting to see how it was going to play out, but there were just so many cautions that just kind of gave so many different drivers different avenues of how they wanted to do it.
Yeah, the cautions definitely played a huge part. I think Kendall and I, we came down a couple of times and pitted on that caution after the second yellow there, and we were good to make it. It was right on the money if we would have gone green the rest of the race. So I think we would have had a fuel advantage if we went green. But then of course cautions came out later and kind of put us in a weird spot with tires and everything. And like I said, I just made some questionable decisions to put myself back in the field. I think I restarted like 10th or something on that last caution and was able to get up there and finish second. Maybe I wasn't that far back after the last caution, but it felt like I was pretty far back.
Well, it was exciting watching you race up through the field, and then once you got clear of second position, and then you just started closing on Dulabon. I had said in the broadcast, I just felt like the straightaway speed was so good up until you get into that dead band of 3 to 4 tenths, and then the wash is enough that if you don't get a big enough run or run a separate line in the corners, it really makes it hard to close that gap on a truck that's running equal lap times as you are.
Yeah, for sure. You could definitely feel it. That's why I was trying to dip down a little bit lower than him in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 as well, trying to get that clean air. But in doing so, it just kind of kills a little bit of the run off the corner on top of it. So, like you said, it's just the wash.
Yeah, it was a fantastic run there in the closing laps. It was heroic in a lot of ways, especially in these trucks. And Chad Dulabon is no slouch when it comes to racing these things.
Nah, he's had my number a few times this year. I think that puts him at 4 wins now, and I've got quite a few second place
You have a
finishes
couple,
to him.
You're going to get it, man. You're plenty fast, and great job tonight.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be back in victory lane again soon. We got 2 on the season, I think, so looking forward to a few more.
I'm sure you will get at least one more, Chad. And so with the middle step of the podium, no slouch and no shame in that. Friends, family, sponsor, shout outs. The floor is yours, my man.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the Pilot John crew on the truck tonight, and my wife Beth for letting me race as always and enjoying the show. And anybody else, friends, family, Pilot John team members out there that's watching. I threw up the stream tonight on Twitch, and if anybody was watching that, I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys for putting this broadcast on, and again, shout out to Chad for a good win.
Absolutely. We'll get out of here. Go celebrate the second place, and we'll see you at the next one, my man.
Great job, Chad.
And now for the second half of the Chad and Chad show. It's the winner, Chad Dulabon. Chad, you had him covered even on old tires, it seems. What's the secret? What can you tell us?
I think that new model they came out with, if you up front, clean air seemed to help a lot. When I was back in traffic a little bit, the truck was tight, but you get out in clean air, it seemed to help.
Well, Chad, there's no question that you were plenty fast all night long. Here's where my mind was in the closing laps. You're watching Chad Winstead close the gap on you, and I'm sure that you're thinking, what am I going to do when he gets here? And you're trying to break the draft down the straightaways, but you did a masterful job of just maintaining your lap time and keeping him at bay. But my big question in the closing laps here is, do you feel like tonight is a little bit of justification from the last race where you knew that you had a truck to beat and it just did not work out for you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. This one is this one is redemption from the last week. And
I appreciate your honesty.
The 98 didn't have no trouble going through traffic this week. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, Chad Winstead, he was running me down. I'm glad we ran out of laps.
Well, I appreciate your honesty. I was thinking about that at length during the race.
You and me both.
Well, it's a masterful job tonight about how you handled the race and that you worked yourself up front and stayed up front. So just a great job tonight, Chad. We're really excited for your finish.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is the way iRacing should be. It was fun, different strategies and that sort of thing. I was probably on 5 different strategies tonight. I think I'd go 2 tires and the caution come out, did I mess up? Or I think I was on 5 different strategies, but it all worked out in the end.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you what, no matter what strategy you were on, you wind up in victory lane, and that's all that matters. And because you're there, you get the mic. Friends, family, sponsor, shout outs. The floor is yours.
Yeah, just a big shout out to family. Got friends up north, down south. Everybody watches. We have a good time. Mark and Sam, y'all do a good job. A lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate you, sir. Get out of here. Go celebrate.
All right, catch y'all
Congratulations.
later. Thank you.
That's Chad Dulabon. He is your winner tonight in the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. And Sam, the more things change, sometimes the more they stay the same. It's kind of like watching Greg and Kyle on Thursdays, isn't it?
Well, there will be dominating drivers in a lot of leagues. You just can't get around that. I've raced in a lot of leagues over 2 decades, and there will be those drivers that run up front constantly, win a lot of races. You just can't get away from that in online racing. However, we have seen, as you were pointing out at the beginning of the broadcast, even though we've seen Chad Dulabon win multiple races and Chad Winstead win a couple of races, we do have other winners in this series. And so it's optimistic for us to tune in every week and know that the potential for another winner is there here in the AMA Industrial or the Archway Industrial Series. So we're really excited about what the AMA brings to the table each Friday when we show up for these truck races. I'm very appreciative of what these guys do week in and week out.
I am equally appreciative of it. Speaking of appreciation, we do want to take one more chance to appreciate the sponsors for the series. Of course, Archway Industrial Coatings, Admin, they're the ones that make this happen in the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. Admin Box, Black Magic Studios, Track Racer, Rogue Energy, all of the sponsors that make this possible. I do want to thank all of the fans tuning this one in. Another big crowd, another interactive audience. We do appreciate all of our fans that tune this in each and every week. As a reminder, if you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified of all future P1 broadcasting efforts. And we've got a lot of them upcoming. Tomorrow, it's going to be the iRacing IndyCar Series presented by 4D Racewear. That's going to go on at 2 o'clock. So circle that on your Saturday afternoon. Sunday night, the Dark Horse TW12 Series presented by The Joy of Driving. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. Monday night, Jacob Collins and I are going to have the IndyCar Open Series Monday night top split. That's going to happen from right here at Pocono. And then Tuesday night, the Techtopia IndyCar Oval Tuesday top split is going to happen at 8:15. Wednesday night, we're going to have the opener for the Horizon IndyCar Series. That's going to be 8 o'clock at Watkins Glen. Next Thursday, the AMA Black Magic Studios Grand National Truck Series, 8:20 broadcast, 8:35 green flag. That's going to be from Atlanta. And then 7 days from tonight, the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series, we're going to head to Lime Rock. That's going to be fun, Sam. I'm looking forward to that. 8:20 pre-race, 8:35 start. For Mark Murphy, Sam Crow, the founder of P1 Broadcasting, Gary Godso, and everybody on the staff.
I want to take the over/under at Lime Rock. I want to take the over/under at Lime Rock about how many trucks are going to be in the grass after turn 1.
I have the over. I have the over, Sam.
That's going to be so good. I can't wait.
But we do want to thank all of the people that make this possible. Not only the sponsors and the fans, but also the people that really do the hard work. The first responders, the military, the police, the fire, the firemen, the EMTs, the nurses in the emergency room. All the people that do the hard work at night so that we can lay our heads down safely on our pillows and sleep. We certainly do thank you, Sam.
It's always a pleasure, Mark, and the racing has been excellent here at Pocono. I look forward to coming back, but we've got some exciting events coming ahead of us.
We most certainly do. Take the belts off, Sam. Put the rollways.
Absolutely, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. We appreciate all of you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.